What's up? Welcome to Something to Talk About. I'm Taco. And this is, well, you know what this is. You clicked on it. But this is my season 1 of The Wire review. So I'm going to review every episode. This is going to be like my every episode of the Avatar review, except it's only one season. So I started this video as an every episode of The Wire review, but my reviews were just way longer than they were for Avatar. And it was getting really, really long. And also, it takes a lot longer to watch The Wire and go through it and write a review for each episode than it does for Avatar. So I was like mostly through season 2 and other stuff was coming up and I really want to do this. And I was like, you know what? I was talking to somebody smarter than me and that person's like, just do each season. Fine. So here we go. Season 1 of The Wire, but it's going to be the same format of every episode that I did with every episode of Avatar. Okay. Anyways, I already did an episode talking about the theme of season 2. That wasn't my every episode of season 2. That's just breaking down the theme of death of work and me kind of giving a defense of season 2 of why I think that season 2 is not bad. People think of it, since it's kind of like the weaker episode of The Wire itself, that it's, or weaker season of The Wire itself, that it's like a weak season in general, and it isn't. So this is my just every episode of season 1. And let's start. No reason to talk to me. Look, I even got pictures. So yeah. So The Wire season 1, created by David Simon. And yeah, let's get into the first episode. First episode is The Target. And okay, so it's difficult to start a story like a show this size. The show wants to tell us so much, and it has a large cast to introduce, along with setting the tone and the general theme of the show. And does this episode pull it off? Yeah, mostly. Honestly, mostly. This first episode isn't a home run. It's more like a base hit. That's my baseball analogy for you guys. It's enough to start the game, but it doesn't really start strong. It starts slow. It doesn't start bad. It starts slow with this slow burn style, which I'll be saying a lot because this whole series has a slow burn to it. Every season does. But it's what makes the show like difficult to get friends to watch. Like I said, it's a base hit. It's a solid start. Now, this review, these every episode reviews themselves, they will contain spoilers. This is for people who have watched the Wire before, and it's not, it's not like a general like, hey, watch this and then you want to watch Wire. No. And also, if you haven't seen, what I do here is I don't edit. I do everything all at once. This is something to talk about. If you haven't seen my stuff before, I'm going to do all this in one take. It is mostly scripted, semi-scripted. I also go off improv. I kind of like the idea of the blending me going off the cuff and improv because I work really well in that, but also I forget a lot of stuff because I'm kind of a simple person. So I also have a script that reminds me the smart stuff to say. So anyways, back to the episode. We meet all the characters. We meet McNulty. We meet, like we're just seeing D'Angelo get out of trial. We get this great introduction to the police and the gangsters and the drug dealers at the towers, right? And those are the two organizations that we start with. The show eventually adds other organizations, but the first one we start with is the Avon Barksdale crew and the cops. So that's it. And is this episode bad? No, it's not. It's slow. Like I said, it's a base hit. It's a solid start. It gets people on base, and it, no strikes. I'd say it's B tier, like mid-low B tier, and yeah, that puts us at like, a 7.5, right? Would that make sense? Wait, 9 to 10 or 8. Oh, 8 to 10's. All right. Sorry. I'm wrong. I'm doing my math wrong. I didn't trust what was in front of me. It's 5.5. 5.5 out of 10. Solid start. And I want people to know who have never seen, if you didn't see my last one, I'm not ranking this like compared to all TV shows, because every episode's pretty freaking good, it's more compared to itself. So I do have lower rankings for, for it. It's more compared to itself. It's graded on a curve, if you will. So there you go. First episode, The Target, introduces everybody really well, and it has a lot to do with you meet. Yeah, I don't need to go listing all the main characters, but you meet them all, and yeah, solid start. The detail. So the first episode introduced all the major players in the first season. Now we get to see, we get moving. We're seeing the witness, Gant, get killed at the end of the last episode, and that shows us that the Barksdale crew is the threat that McNulty is claiming they are. This is still a slow build. We got Bubbles starting to work with, I'm just calling them the unit, like the major crimes unit, starting to work with the unit, and the unit getting fully assembled. We start to see dynamics between the characters and how the bureaucracy gets in the way of actual police work, which is a major theme of the entire show, is that bureaucracy gets in the way of police work. It actually gets in the way of almost all systems that we live in. And on the drug side, we see a similar development. We get the famous McNugget scene, and that's a standout. So, of course, you should know what I'm talking about with the famous McNugget scene, but it's where the not Corner Boys. That's the later season. Tower Boys are all sitting around, and they're talking about how the person who invented the McNugget must be rich because they sell so well. And D'Angelo goes, no, he's just a cog in the machine. Like, it doesn't matter how much he sells. They say, hey, thanks, Mr. McNugget. These are flying off the shelves, but we're not going to pay you anymore. However, he says that I ruined that whole scene. But the point is even if I or you or in whatever job, you can work the hardest you can work, but that means that you're still just a cog in a machine. That means that cog's working. You're not going to, in certain systems and bureaucracies, you're not going to get, the full credit that one deserves. You just get your hourly payment. And that's the system that we agreed to live in. And I'm not getting into, I love saying I'm not getting into politics, but I'm talking about The Wire. But I'm not going to fight him. I'm not going to be like, capitalism equal bad. See, McNugget scene. No, I'm just saying this scene's freaking awesome because of what it says about all the systems, including the one that D'Angelo is currently in, and the rest of the systems, like the police and everything else as explored in the show. Anyways, moving on. Back to the detail. And so we get the awesome McNugget scene, and that shows us that capitalism rules everywhere, be it in Baltimore, low rises, or McDonald's itself. We get, so it turns out I already said what I wasn't going to say, but it just shows us that capitalism rules everywhere, that being a cog on a machine. I'm not going to repeat myself. We also get to see the Herc, Carver, and Prez shakedown at the towers, and I hate it. The police brutality is very hard to watch, and it's always hard to watch. And we get to, and we see that this show shows us the good and the bad police. So it shows us McNulty trying to, fight the good fight and trying to take down this guy who's being ignored, the Barksdale crew. But it also shows us that, police are not perfect, and that they just, honestly, the scene makes them look like just like another group. Like, no, we're going to show them who owns this place, blah, 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 blah. And it just makes them look like another gang. And when he smacks the kid and breaks his eye, it's really hard to watch. So it shows us that there are good and bad police. This episode still sets up a lot. It's still a lot of setup. We are getting comfortable with our characters, and that's important for the slow burn style. And honestly, I think it's a little lower. I put it like a high C, which puts it at like a 10 or 4 out of 10. I didn't say the important number there. But puts it at like a 4 out of 10. But it's episode 2. We're getting moving. Trust me, I'm not going to rate all these low. All right? Calm down. All right. Next one, we got the buys. The standouts of early episode of the Low Rise crew, yeah. Or this starts out. Sorry, this starts out. Oh, what? Oh my God, I can't read my own script, guys. See, imagine what I would be if I didn't have one. What are we doing here? The standouts of the early episodes is the low-rise crew, and it really is. I love this crew. D'Angelo schooling the young hoppers on how they should stop dropping bodies is this great moment at the beginning. And then D'Angelo echoing what McNulty said in the episode before when McNulty had him writing out the letter to Gant's family. And everything, how everything else gets sold without people dying. And that's what he's echoing from McNulty. And it's really cool that he's like almost being mentored by the police that's trying to take him down. Not to mention, we get the chess scene, arguably one of the most important scenes in the entire show. The line, the pawns in the game get capped quick. That hits hard in reflection because, spoilers, like I said, don't watch this if you never watched The Wire, but every single person in the scene doesn't make it out of season 4. It doesn't even make it. They don't even make it into season 5. None of these actors or none of these characters do because they're the pawns. The pawns get capped quick. It's another highlight of this episode. We finally get to see that Lester is no hump. He's real, natural police. And we get one more introduction. We get Omar Little. Heck yeah. One of the most important characters in TV history, in my opinion, played by perfection by the late, great Michael K. Williams, like RIP for real. Towards the end, we see the raids on the low-rises, and we get to see, ready for it? More police brutality. Yay! When the cop characters that we are starting to grow super fondly of, we see them start beating the crap out of Bodie after Bodie punched the old cop Patrick Mahone. Mahone. There we go, Patrick Mahone. So he punches Mahone. Mahone falls over, and then we see these characters that we've absolutely started to really like Kima. I guess Herc and Carver a little bit. We just see them just stomp the crap out of Bodie, and we know that Bodie's a drug dealer, but still hard to watch. Like, he was already, you could have just cuffed him. It's hard to watch, and I'm not, whatever. I'm trying to not talk about politics as I do a thing about The Wire. Stuff is very uncomfortable to watch. But sadly, it's a part of the show, and it's a part of the world we live in. And this is a very solid episode. I'm finally going to start giving them some higher ratings. I would put this at a high B, which puts us at about 8 out of 10. And really good episode, really strong episode. And we're finally starting to cook with fire. And we are. Like I said, it burns slow. And I'll talk later about what I mean by that. But let's get into the next one. We got Old Cases. I love this episode. This episode starts off with a scene of them moving the desk into the office. You got, Herc and Carver. Lester's just watching like a cool cat. And everybody starts helping, and they're trying to move this desk into the office. And it's good symbolism of cops pushing against each other and getting in each other's way. When Herc, so we see it, them all trying to think it's going one way, and it turns out it's going a different way, and they've just been pushing against each other the entire time. It's just really awesome sequence. Later on, we get a cool scene when Herc speaks to Bodie's grandmother because Bodie, left the boys' village. And we see this soft, gentle side of Herc that we really don't see again. And it's funny because it almost looks like they're going to make Herc like this and more sympathetic, and maybe he's just acting this way. We really don't see that again from Herc. Herc's kind of a D-bag. Like, it would have been cool if we kind of saw Carver do this, because Carver has that real arc down the line where he becomes a better person, or just better police. But we don't really. It's weird. It's a weird scene from Herc. We get development that goes very little, very, very nowhere from here. We get the classic fuck scene where McNulty and Bunk investigate the scene of the cold case, but only communicate with variations of the F word. All right. It's the scene that I got right there as my thumbnail. I love it. It kind of like it's cheesy and it kind of takes me out of it, but I do love the scene. It shows us like the reason they added it in was to show us that when cops are really good and they have a really good rhythm, they don't really have to communicate. And I love that. And I also love because the first time I saw it, I don't think I caught that they were just going, fuck, motherfucker. I think it's great. Yeah. We see them figure out what D'Angelo spoiled for us earlier in the same episode, the tap, tap, tap story. Yeah. And, you know, we kind of get into, there's contention later on. He's taking credit for this kill? Is he doing it just to look cool? Later, Weebay takes the fall forward. Is Weebay just taking the fall forward? Who actually killed her? I tend to believe Weebay did, and that he's just trying to look cool in front of everybody. But I don't know. That's kind of open to interpretation. Maybe when I make a iceberg video, eventually, I might have that on there. It's good. Thank you, me. We also learn that Lester is no hump, or no, McNulty learns that Lester is no hump, and he buys him a drink, and that's when we find out that Lester pissed off the bosses, and he got sent to the pawn shop unit for 13 years and 4 months. It's a good episode. All right, guys, this is a good one. It's definitely mid A tier, just slightly under the last one. We'll give it like a 7.5 out of 10. It's good stuff. And hearing like Lester's whole story of, you know, how he, you know, took down like a protected member of society and, you know, just followed the trail and let police work for him and how he got punished for it. It's a big show of later on, of course, but it's a reality of the world. Is you're not even if you're working for the city, and even if you're a police person, and if you're doing something that's technically for the public, you're really working for your bosses. And even if you're doing something righteous, if you piss the bosses off, you piss the bosses off. 13 years, 4 months. All right, we get the pager. God, I love that picture of Omar. All right. This episode starts off with a cold open showing us how careful Avon is. I do love how this season starts with the drug crew in the lead and that the cops need to catch up and figure it all out. And that's really what this opening scene shows is they're not even up on their pagers yet. And Avon is like, wait, he doesn't stay at his own house. He sleeps at like random ladies' houses and has their phones removed so they can't even have home phones. Like, he is so careful. And then he has like Weebay, a cold-hearted killer, be his driver. And this dude is so careful. He just sees some people hanging out on the street and he points like, I'm not getting in that car until you take care of those dudes. And Weebay like shows up like, hey, I'm going to kill you. And they're like, oh, shit, we should leave. He's like, yeah, you should leave. And he doesn't say that. He just shows them the gun. But I do love that. Just like, hey, we're going to murder you if you don't move. All right. But yeah, it just shows how ahead of the game, you know, ahead in the race that the drug crew is at the start. We also get a lesson from Stringer how to crack on D'Angelo's crew on payday to see if they have a snitch, because you know Omar robbed them the episode before, so they got to crack the crew to see if there was a snitch. Stringer using money and capitalism as a weapon to manipulate people. It just shows the kind of man Stringer is. I love that. I love that he literally, even all the way to the end, he thinks money is how you hurt people and money is how you make people happy. That he's not like Stringer is such a machine. He doesn't really have normal emotions that normal people have. He has money. And how do you make people happy? Well, with the money. or how do you make people hurt? Take away their money. That's all he is. He's just straight up capitalism, string errors. Speaking of the stick up crew, Omar does his thing with the East Siders and a guy named Cheese. So let me get this straight. The guy who he robs East Side, beginning of this episode, is named Cheese. So there are two drug dealers, East Side named Cheese. I gotta know that. Is there two cheeses on the East Side? I guess. What a weird name. Give him that cheese. I can't wait until we get to season 2. We get to talk about Method Man. Heck yeah. All right. We can get some good Bout development from his treatment of Wallace and his little standoff with D'Angelo after he throws a bottle at Wallace. And then we get his time with Herc and Carver. That's really cool. They're playing pool and all that stuff. And, they kind of hang out and they kind of bond. And you see once they're kind of out of the element, when they're off the street and they're out of the war zone, if you will, they become normal humans. Sorry, I'm yawning. You guys are boring me. All right. we get Bubbles explaining snitching to Johnny, which is really cool because he makes this really good point about how Johnny says, like, it's okay to snitch if your ass is on the line, but just doing it out of nowhere, you're a piece of crap. And he's like, no, if you only do it when your ass is on the line, that makes you a snitch. That makes you a rat. If you're just an informant, then you're a professional. And I mean, he's got a good point there. I like that. And Prez proves that he has a heart. He has a part in the unit by solving the code on the beepers. And guess what this does? This starts Prez Belusky's story arc, which is the character arc. It's the best character arc in the whole show. You know what? Because he's looking at a phone, he's solving problems in Prez Belusky. Love him. D'Angelo and Avon visit a family member in the hospital who took a bullet to the head, showing us that Avon knows how quickly you can go from the top to nothing, and that's really powerful, and that's probably why Avon is so careful. This is a really good Avon episode. Feud finally meets face-to-face with Omar in the graveyard, and he puts them on Bird after they tell him that they got John Bailey. The episode ends with Bout and Wallace setting up Brandon in that chilling shot when they're catching the call. The wire is catching a call from the dead man. This is definitely also A tier. It's lower A tier, but absolutely A tier. We got 7 out of 10 for this one. I love the pager. It's so cool how quickly we just start really moving. As much as I give crap to the early episodes, it really starts picking up. I'm gonna end myself there. I guess I could just go right to it. Why do you guys even want to see my face anyways? I don't want to show my face. Not show my face. The Wire episode. The Wire. Okay. This episode opens so strong with Wallace taking care of all the kids in the vacant house. It truly shows us the lack of chance that the system gave the people in this community. Wallace has no parents, no support, and he supports all these kids, showing us that if he wants to eat and if he wants these homeless kids to eat, he needs to work, and the only work for a kid in the projects is to deal drugs. It's a powerful message, and it really is. And it's one of the most important messages in the entire show, and it's season 1, of showing us just because you're a drug dealer on the street doesn't make you evil. I'm not saying that dealing drugs isn't a bad thing. It definitely is. But he's trying to eat, and he's trying to feed these kids, and to him, it's the only option. Do I wish that he didn't have to deal drugs? Absolutely. I think heroin is one of the worst things in the world. I think opiate addiction is something that the politicians never bring up, and they constantly talk and fight about other stuff because they don't want to talk about opiates, and they don't want to talk about how heroin's a plague to the streets. Trust me, I'm not trying to downplay Wallace as a heroin dealer, but I'm saying that judging him for doing something that you would probably be doing in that same situation. Because if all of us didn't have the opportunities to just to work in the system, pay your taxes, get these normal jobs that you have to apply for, and the government takes a little bit of money out of it. If you didn't have those opportunities, if you were a little kid without a house, without a family, and you need to make money because you want to eat, and then you live with a couple other little kids and you want them to eat too, you find a way to make money. And guess what? They ain't hiring at freaking some big company. I'm not gonna say a company. Some big company, a couple little project boys. So they have to make money, and it's a horrible part of our society. But blaming Wallace is blaming a symptom. There you go. Soapbox off it. Back to talking about the episode. Oh my God. All right. Wallace has. All right. Where were we? He has to deal drugs as powerful message. And that's all just in a couple minutes of that episode. The scene ends with Wallace seeing Brandon tortured to death, and Wallace feels responsible. Oh my God. Young Michael B. Jordan really kills it this whole episode. Later on with the scene of him on the couch talking to D'Angelo. That kid can act. I say we hear it now. I think they should grab whatever random actor who's playing Wallace. What's this guy? Michael B. Jordan? Yeah. Put him in some Marvel movies. The kid can act. All right. I spend too much time talking about Wallace. There's so many cool moments in this episode. Like Bubbles trying to go straight and then robbing the Copper House. And Daniel standing up to Rawls and end up saving his case. It's a picture I got. And Avon visiting the pit is also a really cool scene. Speaking of powerful, Omar seeing Brandon in the morgue and screaming, and it prompts him to flip. Oh, yes. Extremely awesome. Also A tier. And I'll keep throwing these guys at A tier. 7 out of 10. Absolutely. Love it. Great episode. And yeah. Moving on. Look, I'm not going to show my face now. I'm just going to go to the next picture. That's what you guys did to me. There. How do you feel about that? Jerks. This episode is episode 7, One Arrest. Major Crimes is up and running in full swing, and it's really cool to see the cops finally caught up and finally watching the drug crew. They stop Stinkum, but let him go to charge him later, and they get the runner. And the runner is the kid that Prez beat up in the second episode. That's the picture I got, is them catching the runner with the eye patch. Daniels tries to reach him, and Kevin is his name, and he turns him down. And that's another oh, you think you're gonna buy me a Reese's Pieces and you're gonna save me from it's another really powerful thing of seeing how the kid's not very old, but he's already indoctrinated in this world. The police are evil to him. The police are bad guys, and there's no changing that. Especially not just from some Reese's Pieces. We get 2 awesome introductions in this. Clay Davis, who I consider the main antagonist to the entire show. Clay Davis. And a personal favorite of mine, Waylon, played by Steve Earle, as a friend and a family of many addicts. His character and Bubble storyline really hits home for me, because it's just something I've dealt with a lot in my life, and I'm sure everybody has. I'm sure everybody's dealt with drug addicts, or just other type of addicts. You don't have to be a drug addict, but his Bubble storyline hits home really hard, and I'm sure it does to a lot of people. And Steve Earle's character Waylon, who of course comes back later, which is awesome because he's the best, and you want him back. But it's great. I got nothing besides it. It's home and it's awesome. Then we get the scene that Avon and his crew are trying to work out why they keep getting messed with. I love it. Avon just trying to work it out in his head. It's, what the fuck? It's so good. Wood Harris just kills it. Shows us how smart they are. Meanwhile, Bird gets picked up. Now I'm torn on this scene because Bird is scum. 100%. He's one of the worst, most brutal characters on this entire show. But police brutality is always hard to watch, and it's never okay, and not even if it's Bird. So I'm torn on the scene. I don't know if I like this scene. It is what it is. It ends with them, taking a picture of Bird, and then they go in and beat the crap out of him afterwards. And yeah, I mean, maybe just uncuff him. I don't know. Or just don't beat on him. I don't know. Or beat on him because he's a piece of crap. I don't know. Don't beat on him. Police brutality is never okay, and I already said that. I take that last part back. So it's still, I don't know, still powerful. This ends with the scene of McNulty finding out that Rawls is after his badge, and McNulty showing up at Rhonda's house saying, they're after my badge. McNulty thinking that he's going to lose his career, and the only good thing is a cop. It's the only thing he's good at, and they're trying to take that from him. Yeah, definitely putting it at lower, mid B tier, which would be 5.5. But yeah, it is what it is. And God, I really hope we can stop talking about police brutality. Episode 8, Lessons. We get one of the most powerful scenes in season 1 when they catch Clay Davis's driver with $20,000 of leaving the projects, and Burrell makes them give it back. Holy crap. Whoa. This is our first look at the actual corruption and the real big bad, Clay Davis. We see McNulty yelling at Daniels about the chain of command. I do love this scene, and I actually think this scene is paired really well with later the scene of him chatting with his wife, who's telling him to play ball. And for the better, because he knows McNulty is right, he kind of sides with McNulty over his wife on this, and he starts to stop playing ball and starts to do what's right. And it's really awesome. Daniels is an odd character because he gets an arc, but he gets an arc like in season 1, and then he kind of like stays at that moral high ground the rest of this season. We get a lot with Avon's muscle, with Stink getting promoted and then throwing a party, and it ends with the death of Chardine's friend. Oof. Omar catching Stinkum off guard and having that shootout with Weebay. I love that. Just, Stinkum, wham, just shoots him. Oof. Yeah, so this also losing Stink screws over the unit because the unit had something on Stinkum, and now they don't anymore. Bunk cheats on his wife in this episode, showing us that even the best characters in The Wire are pieces of crap, or at least very well could be. And that, of course, is what I chose for the thumbnail, is Bunk wearing that pink bathrobe. 5 out of 10. Yeah, low B tier. It's good. It's not bad. 5 out of 10 means not bad, right? Game day. Oh, here we are, guys. Now we're cooking with fire. Now we're starting to move, guys. Lester breaks down how to follow the paper trail, and one of my favorite seasons of the show, when he tells Prez what he can do and puts his mind to things. And later in the episode, when Lester and McNulty explain to Daniels, he really processes how important this paper trail is. Daniels is a big fighter to fight for the paper trail, or a fighter to go through the paper trail. You know what I mean? This is also important because an important Bubbles episode, because with him seeing Waylon again and then struggling with his addiction, seeing some random guy get beat over him stealing drugs that happened to be baking soda. He later visits his sister and tries to get clean. We have a fun Herc and Carver, them stopping Weebay and finding out the basketball game. It's great. I love the basketball game. It's great to see the introduction of Prop Joe. This leads to the game of cat and mouse. And the first time Major Crime Unit actually becomes face-to-face with Avon. Super cool scene. Avon outsmarting them. And that finger wave to Daniels is legendary, and that's why I had to choose it for the thumbnail. Holy crap. Meanwhile, Kima and Lester flip Chardine by showing her the body of her friend, and her and Lester flirting over the doll furniture is kind of adorable. I ship them. Well, I don't have to ship them. The show ships them. They end up together. Spoilers. In the episode with Omar making a deal with Prop Joe to get his Avon beeper, get Avon's beeper number, and it comes close to killing him outside of Orlando's. It's a solid episode. Let's finally get out of the B tiers with this. Let's go with the A tier, and let's give it an 8 out of 10. We're moving back up. It gets good. And I'm sure you guys miss my pretty face. So, all right. The cost. Okay. Let's save the end for the end, because the entire point of this episode is how it ends. We have the aftermath of Omar going after Avon, with them planning on the parlay. Bubbles is clean, and clean Bubbles is good. We know it won't last, but at least we get that meeting with Waylon on the park bench. Something about Steve Earle's performance is just so genuine and powerful. I just love him. Love him in this scene, and I love Steve Earle in the show. Orlando gets pinched and flips, setting up the end of this episode. The unit has Wallace in custody and flips him. And again, little Michael B. Jordan kills it. Give this kid a Marvel movie, I tell you. Maybe make him a villain. The parlay between Stringer and Omar is fun. Omar being him and Stringer being super careful. Seeing these two powerhouses going at it. Just seeing Michael K. Williams act alongside Idris Elba, they're so good. Daniels drops Wallace off at his grandmother's. All right, let's do it. Let's talk about the end. Now, for the end, the sequence of Orlando and Kima going down the alley is super tense. It feels like it feels off from the start as like the mastery of suspense, and when the gunshots do go off, we stop seeing Kima and we just start seeing the cops struggle to find her. It is dreadful and frustrating. And when they finally find her, we get this overwhelmed and chaos and the sounds of sirens until the episode ends on a cliffhanger. Oh my God. I love this episode. And it is definitely an 8 out of 10. It's good, man. It's good. The ending is it's such a gut punch. All right, the episode after Kima gets shot. I bet you guys can't guess what I'm going to do for the thumbnail. All right, well, sometimes you have to go for the meme, okay? I love it. I love Weebay, okay? Episode is The Hunt. This fucking episode. It starts off right where it ended. Homicide starting to look at the scene, and Rawls proves why he's in charge, clearing all the extra people off the scene like a boss, seeing how broken everyone is, that they still have a job to do. It's heartbreaking. Lester is a standout, telling Herc, Sidnor, and Carver that they need to go back to work. It's like such an honest gut punch because they know he's right, that they need one of them to be on the wire. But the highlight is Rawls and McNulty when they're back at wherever they are in the hospital or wherever they are. And you see Rawls lecturing McNulty. John Doman as Rawls plays off Dominic West so freaking well. Both their performances in this episode are some of the best in the entire show. And also that's probably why they have those two actors again in The Affair, if you've ever seen The Affair, and they work off each other very well in there too. They just have amazing chemistry. There we go. And there's just so much in this episode. Seeing the homicide department go to town and Lester popping in, show them up. It's priceless. When he helps them out and he's like, "What unit are you in?" He's like, "Punch up unit." The aftermath on both sides is great to watch. Weebay makes a meme, as you see right there. Stringer tells Avon it's Stringer's fault. It's his own fault. That's crazy. McNulty in Levy's office with Rodden. He gives his twisted little tribe speech. I'm not part of your twisted little tribe. Oh, it's so fucking good. It's so fucking good. I seriously can't speak about every good scene. I have a lot more to cover, and oh yeah, also we get Weebay's fish tank scene. It's personal favorite, but I can't talk about every scene. But the Weebay fish tank scene is one of my favorites. The whole show. What do you think I'm gonna give this episode? All right, this episode's a banger. It's a knocker, bro. It's 10 out of 10. It's gotta be. This episode's awesome. Yeah, The Hunt. It's just scene for scene, just so good. We're getting there. 2 episodes left. Now we're on the penultimate episode, cleaning up. Sorry about that thumbnail. I'm sorry. So yeah, the last 2 episodes had a lot of excitement, but the excitement dies down from the last episode. Stuff gets really real. Avon and Stringer are on the back foot and are cutting ties. Security guard that covered them in the first episode had to go. They killed the chick who freaking covers for him. Meanwhile, Burrell is getting the unit. I like the subtlety that Daniels used. So here's like a cool subtlety, right? So Daniels used to meet up with Burrell, like Deputy Burrell, on his own when he was like snitching. But now that he's not snitching, you see that the major is sitting in the room with him now. Like, it's this cool little detail, right? Burrell thinks he is gutting the unit, but leaves Lester and Prez thinking that they are the humps. But little does he know they're the two actually on the campaign finances, which is why they're getting gutted. Speaking of which, the DA is scared about Lester snooping around and just straight up. The district attorney just straight up gives his files right over to the Ronnie. All right, so before we get into heavy stuff, and we got heavy stuff. See, you can't tell by the thumbnail. Lester calls Signor and her Ivy Leaguers. I love it. Can you see Ivy Leaguers keep it down? So good. We get our first scene that shows us another scene that shows us the real big bad, Clay Davis. Him threatening Daniels and lies his way through accepting the drug money from Avon and Stringer. Oh my God. It's so good. I love Clay Davis. He is just such a villain. The sadness is Avon and Stringer looking for Wallace. So here we go. Now we're going to get to the sadness. So Avon and Stringer are looking for Wallace, and sorry, I lost where I was. Okay. So D'Angelo covers for him, but he does show back up. And not only is this one of the most heartbreaking endings, but we also see we get more of that shows us just how good Michael B. Jordan is, even so young. Bodie speaking straight to Stringer mirrors Daniels going around the chain of command, paralleling the two institutions, something this show is really good at and something I like to bring up. So just like how Daniels used to go around his major to talk to Burrell, now we have Bodie going around D'Angelo to speak to Stringer directly. The scene of Wallace getting shot by Putin Bodie is sad. The heart of the show is getting killed, and it's so hard to watch. It's equally heartbreaking and important to show us that the life isn't for regular people, only for hard killers. And since this episode just won't end, D'Angelo gets pinched at the end, and we get the "Where's Wallace at?" scene. Yet another great performance. Burrell showing Daniels the dirt he has on him to force him in to bring Avon in to end the case. Finally, we get to see Avon being arrested. I love this scene with McNulty saying, "Catch you later." It's like an equal part of badass and cheesy. This episode has a lot of good stuff in it, but it really does feel long. And it's really hard to watch. Wallace, get it? So I'm giving it a mid-A tier. 7.5 out of 10. Yeah. All right. You guys ready? Ready for the final episode? Let's do it. Sentencing. Just like the last episode, just so much to talk about. I'll leave some out. I really will. I don't want this video to be uber long. Starts with Kima waking up but not giving up Weebay because she didn't see him. Bunk tries to force her name, the name, or force her to name him again, showing that even real police bend rules, which Bunk was trying to do. Later, D'Angelo then spills the beans about everything. The show shows us he lied to Bodhi in the pit, lied to the crew in the pit about killing, about killing to look cool. If he did lie, even if he did, I love this reveal. Then he has a speech about literally everyone in his family was in the game, showing us that he had no choice, or at least he felt like he had no choice. It makes it even more heartbreaking when his mom convinces him not to flip and to take the years like his own mom. D has one of my favorite arcs in this season. Yeah, he just absolutely does. It's so heartbreaking to see his mom like, no, take the years. It's brutal. Daniel finishes his series-long arc in one season. Starts off as a company man and ends good police, and then stays there for the rest of the show. Just gets his arc done and over with in one season. Prez starts his arc, at least. That's cool. But characters like Herc, McNulty, Carver, and the rest save their arcs for later. But the man that steals the episode without having any arc yet, Weebay. I love the pit beef eating episode or season when he's season. Oh my god, I can't even talk anymore. The pit beef eating scene when he's taking all the bodies, like taking credit for all the bodies, and he's eating this pit beef. Oh, it's gold. It's absolute gold. Avon gets sentenced for 4 years, which makes you wonder if this entire season was even worth it. This episode does the whole ties up all the loose ends in one this character does tie up a lot of loose ends, and we get that character location montage, something that becomes a tradition. Sorry about all the yawning. I already worked today. I worked most of a full shift. I took off so I can record. But I'm tired. I've been waking up really early to go to work, and then I didn't think I would be just a yawn factory. That's horrible. Man, I really should edit this out. What did I think of the last episode? Well, it's good. 8 out of 10. All right, you guys got 10 out of 10. I didn't give any 1 out of 10s. Okay, love this show. It's the best. Let's kind of give a recap. Season 1 is one of the best of the entire show. I would argue between season 3 and 4 and 1, but maybe season 4 and 1. I really like 3 though. The Wire is a show that it's just super hard to pitch with. The first season is so strong, but it takes so long to get moving, which, you heard me say. It doesn't have that first scene hook like Breaking Bad or like Dexter, where just in the first scene, you're like, oh my God, this is great. Yeah, it doesn't do this. You need to invest, and it takes multiple watches. Even after you watch the whole show, it took me a couple times watching the entire show to really understand all that's going on. And there's still, even to this day, I notice things that I haven't noticed before. Yeah, it's so great. But it's so worth it for this investment to really invest time into the show. The show picks up slowly, gets you invested in these characters. All of them, not just the cops or the gang members or whatever. It's really about every character and about this entire town and about the entire city and the system. And it makes it really hard to pitch the show to people because at first glance it's a cop show, but then you realize it's so much more. In season 1 gives us that small glimpse at Baltimore from the Tower Boys, the Kingpins, the Sticka Boys, the low bottom dope fiends, and the cops. These are just the first groups, and later seasons, it expands to all the other groups. And yeah, it's a perfect place to start, and it's a really good season. I love it. It's if I have to say right now, I'd put it like my second favorite season. It's so hard. It's in between. I think season 4 is the best, and then there's like 3 and then 1 maybe. 1 might be better than 3, and then 2 and 5. None of them are bad. I do think 2 is better than 5. I don't think 2 is the worst season. There we go, guys. We got through it. Only 15 minutes. Holy crap, 50 minutes. Imagine if I would have did every episode of all 5 seasons. It would have been freaking 5 hours. I'm glad I did this. But yeah, please like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Please tell me in the comments what your favorite episode of The Wire is, what your favorite episode of season 1, what you think of season 1. Please, let's start a dialogue. I would love to talk to you guys. And yeah, I hope I can get season 2 to you guys soon, but I'm not promising it any time like very soon. With work and everything else, I can only rock out a couple episodes, scripted episodes a month, and I kind of have other things I want to do right now. But yeah, season 2 is in the plans, hopefully one day. But yeah, thank you. Click like, subscribe, everything. If you made it this far, you know what? How about this? If you made it this far, all the way to the end, say, type in the comments. Let's type The Hunt. This is my top 10. If you just say anything about The Hunt, just make your normal comment and also say like The Hunt. I'll know that you watched the whole thing, and I'll give you a shout out in a future video. I will, for real, because you watched the whole thing and you kick butt. See you guys later.